Hi guys, what I'm going to be doing in this video is hopefully tying up some loose ends so that I can fire the car up. What you'll have just seen me do in the last video is wire up the fuel system. So we'll just show you quickly how I'm wiring up the fuel pump because it was carbureted and now I've dropped a fuel injection engine into it. But what we're going to be doing now is I've got some parts here. I've got a fuel filter, which I didn't do in that video, and then I've got these gaskets and stuff and the gasket that I've just sat here, for the rocker cover, which there'll hopefully be a video up on me painting this, just a really quick one, but I've very annoyingly smudged the clear coat, so I'm having to sand that back and do that again. But other than that, it looks alright. I mean, it looks... yeah, I need to sort that bit. And along with the fuel filter, I've got fuel lines. So what I'm going to be doing is running the fuel lines. So here I've mounted the pump. This is the feed, which is too short for what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be putting the filter here, running the feed up, filter, pump, and then this goes to the fuel rail, and then the return is here, which is also too short. That's going to need to come off, but luckily it's just a hard line down there. So we'll take that off and run a longer one to the pressure regulator there, just back to the return down there. So once the rocker cover's sorted, all the fuel stuff's plumbed in, then hopefully it'll be able to turn over. In a couple of videos ago, you saw me get the starter working, which all it needed was properly ground. And I checked that we do have spark. So we've got spark and everything that we need for it to turn over. And hopefully that'll be that video. So it's definitely not the prettiest setup, but the fuel feed, I've done the fuel feed, comes here, comes round up to the filter, goes to the pump, and then this goes to the fuel rail. The return comes round. I've also got the rocker cover on, which on the video kind of looks alright. In real life, I'm not too happy with it, to be honest, but I'm not going to redo it now. I just want to get it running. So it's on. The fuel stuff's all plumbed, apart from I need a fine thread bolt nut for that, to keep that tight, but I think that's it. In the meantime, what I've started to do is I've drilled a hole here and then lined it with this sort of like kind of motorbike windscreen stuff. It's kind of like an aperture seal. Lined it with that. For that boost pipe, I've got the intercooler mocked up, but it needs tabs welded in to get bolted up, and I've also got this boost pipe onto the turbo. I don't know if that's gonna fall off. I don't know if the turbo's gonna need clocked a bit, just a wee bit more out, because this just comes very close, but I'll need to mock it up with the bumper and everything. But all I'm waiting for just now to kind of crank it over, see if it'll fire, is that nut, because otherwise fuel's just going to leak everywhere. So while I'm waiting on a nut for that, what I'm going to do is just tidy up wee things that are going to stop it from firing up, any wiring that's kind of bare, any grounds that I had to take off, like the one off the rocker cover, stuff like that. And if it takes even longer than that, then keep trying to get all the boost pipes and stuff mocked up so that we can actually make some boost when it does fire up. So it's been a few days because things didn't go my way, but that's fine. I've got this nut, I've got a couple other bits that I needed as well. I needed a banjo bolt for one of the calipers and some crimps to tidy some wiring up, so I'm gonna see if this fits and try and turn it over, hopefully. I also got all the boost pipes plumbed in and mocked everything up. The intercooler's not mounted yet, but that's fine. So yeah, this nut will hopefully go on here, and it does. That's very nice. So I'll tighten that up, make sure everything's tight and plugged in, and try and turn it over. So you've just seen me trying to turn it over. It's trying to fire, but it's not quite managing it. It's actually been a couple of days because I needed a copper washer just in between the nut at the end of the fuel pump that you just saw me put on. And I've turned it over a couple of times, and I've checked the plugs. Cylinders, I'm calling them 2 and 4. They might not be 2 and 4, but these two, this one and this one, are wet with fuel, soaked with fuel, look like, and they've both got a good spark, and they're trying to go. All of them have spark, but these two are completely dry when I take them out. So that indicates to me that there's no fuel because they're dry, obviously. Currently charging the battery, so that's not hopefully going to be a problem. But the fuel pump works, we know that, because before I had the copper washer on there, it was pissing fuel everywhere. So it's given us fuel to the fuel rail. What I'm thinking might be the problem is either these injectors are gunked up, or the wires are knackered, or something like that. Luckily, very luckily, I have this bag labelled spare fuel injectors. So I've got some extra fuel injectors to try out. I'm going to pull these ones out, see if they're spitting out any fuel. If they're not, that could mean the wiring or the injector's bad, I suppose. If they're spitting out a wee bit of fuel, then I know they're just gunked up, and the wiring's good. So that's what I'm going to try just now, because hopefully that's the only issue, and hopefully like the timing isn't completely off or something disastrous like that. Now, I could only find 2 jars, but I feel like it'll be alright because I've only plugged 2 in. The return's still on, the feed's still on, nothing's changed. So I'm going to prime it and try and turn it over and see how much we get out of these two. I think, if my memory serves me correctly, this one should be alright, and this one should give less or nothing. So we'll see. So what have we got? I definitely saw fuel. Yeah, so that's dry, as predicted, and it still smells like marmalade. And this one, I'll try not to spill it, but there is definitely some fuel in there. Smells like it too. It'd be quite a poor experiment not to try the other two, but I'll try the other two, and then to see if it's, hopefully it's just the plugs, the injector's gunked up, and these spare ones aren't gunked up. That would be a good situation. So test the other two. I saw one fire and one not. Come on, work with me. Yeah, that is completely dry now. And the marmalade will no longer smell of marmalade. It will smell of fuel. And it does, it's got a wee bit of fuel. So, this one and this one, I'll plug in a spare plug and see if it works. So now I've only plugged those two in that were the bad ones and got the jars on them. we'll try to see if they fire now. If they don't fire, there is the possibility that these plugs are bad too and they're all gunked up. But what I would possibly conclude is that the wiring's bad, which will then get a multimeter on it and check it. So and they're both gone. Look at that. So they're both now spitting fuel, which is very nice. I don't really know the etiquette on running, so they look like they could be 550cc, and I've not a clue what these are, so the etiquette's probably not to run two different types. So I should probably just plug in, oh, but I know they work. Let's try it with these. Let's just try with the two different types of plugs at the moment and see if it will fire up any better than it has been. So they're in there tight now, and we'll give it a go turning it over. See if anything happens. That didn't sound healthy. In the slightest. Jeez. Right, it runs, and obviously there's loads of things to tidy up. I reckon I probably will just stick all four of those old and like the older looking ones back in because they work fine. So I'm going to end the video here. That's a complete and utter win, and I'm very thankful for that. I'll start just tightening bits up and getting it ready to go. It's going to need to go to a shop for, like, it needs both the front wheel bearings done, blah 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 blah, but I'm going to finish it here because it runs now, and that's class. Cheers.